Hello there. So this is going to be a pretty quick video. I'm just going to go through some of the layer ordering I use. I've done some of this in previous videos, but I've made some changes, and I thought it would be a good idea to just put all of this in one short video for convenience. So I'll just start over here on this corner of the map. So I've got everything contained in this folder here. Let me just rename this master folder. And I've got a mask attached to the folder, which is disabled at the moment, but let me just turn that on. And this is all the stuff that the player can walk underneath. So as I add new objects to any of these layers underneath, I just make sure to add a sort of corresponding shadow into that mask layer. So let me start down at the bottom. These are the basic template tiles I created. I just sort of snap together in whatever pattern you want to start off with. This is the way that I go about making maps. I guess it's kind of unusual. I do like the modularity of it. You can easily move things around. So I'm going to skip this custom layer here. There's a lot of stuff on here, but I'm going to skip this for now, because I wouldn't normally do that until later. The next thing I would do would be to work on this overlay layer here. And the only real difference that you can see is some variation in the color of the roofs here, and that's just some modification I did afterwards. But really what's going on this layer is there are corresponding tiles to the tiles I have on the bottom layer. Here, I'll show you an example of what I mean. So here are a bunch of the tiles for the bottom, and some corresponding overlay layers. Here's a test map I made when I was working on creating these tiles. So the idea is, with both those folders, I work on all of the additional stuff I'm going to put into the map in between here. This probably all looks very familiar if you've watched the last few videos I've done. And I've got two shadow layers up here. This one is the ambient occlusion layer, folder I should say. It's only got one layer in it, which is just a multiply layer, adding some non-directional shadows. Now, when I made the base tiles, I did that same sort of thing. I created an ambient occlusion layer, but that sort of shadowing is already baked into the base tiles, so that's why you don't see a lot going on in this folder here. I'm only really applying it to the stuff that I've added with the custom folder. Alright, let me move on to another folder up here. Okay, so I've got this collision mask folder. I've gone over that in another video. And this is the unusual one, I guess. So this is the shadow and tone layer. So the entire folder is set to overlay. And then I've got this tone layer here, which is just a pale yellow color. And you can see here that blows out the tone of the entire map. Makes it very sunny looking. Then I've got a folder within a folder here. And this folder is set to exclusion. And it's got some blending effects applied to it. It's got an inner glow. Looks like I used orange. Well, you can see the settings I used here. And then within that folder is another folder, which doesn't have a name at the moment. This is where all the shadows go. The cast shadows, I should say. Now, this really could be just on a layer. It doesn't actually need to be in a folder as I have it here. I happen to have it in a folder with some masking going on. I can't actually remember why I did that, but it's not necessary. Anyway, so what's important is on this layer here, when I'm drawing in shadows, I'm using exactly the same color as the lighting itself. But because it's set on exclusion, it will give me the complementary color. And you can see around the edges of the shadow, it's a bit, well, not blended, but it's a bit hazy, I guess. That's a result of the effects on this layer here. I guess the best way to show that would be to turn off some of these lower layers. So here you can see there's this really warm outer glow effect onto all these shadows, which I think looks a lot more realistic than very hard shadows. So it does take a bit of time to draw in all of these shadows, but it looks quite good, I think. And there is the addition of the ambient occlusion. Let me just create a white layer underneath so you can get a sense of what things look like. So it almost looks like a 3D rendering, really, with the shadow effects. I'll just turn off the effects here so you can see the difference. It still looks perfectly fine like this. The shadows are just a bit harsher, and you might prefer this look. Well, that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and thank you for watching.